I'm so excited to get started on this quilting method. I think it's going to be great for my small sewing machine, but first a quick recap. I'm making this quilt specifically for my dad to use in his recliner. His one request was absolutely no white, and his favorite color is camo. Okay, so the quilting method I'm going to use is a quilt as you go method, but it doesn't have that fiddly sashing, and it doesn't have any hand quilting or hand finishing at all. So that is super nice, and I'm excited to try that out. I think the closest quilt as you go method to this one is the Angela Walters method. That one doesn't have any sashing, but it does have hand finishing, which was a little complicated and messy when I did it. So I think this might be a really good alternative. As you can see here, I have pieced my quilt top into 3 even sections. Next up, I'm going to glue my backing fabric and my batting in 3 even sections that are just a little bigger than these quilt sections. I'm only glue basting my first panel to start out because I'm going to be attaching the other panels just a little bit differently. I'm a little concerned about how these connecting edges are going to match up after I've quilted, so I'm going to add an extra layer of protection with another basting line. It's probably completely unnecessary, but better safe than sorry. So I'm just going to bump up my stitch length as high as it'll go. Here is my panel. I've got my top and my backing and batting and my messy basting line right here. I was going to start marking the quilt in diagonals like 2 or 2.5 inches across. But I've decided, since this thing is just one big experiment, I'm going to be a little less precise, and I'm just going to add some wavy lines, some freeform wavy lines down each row. So they'll be going across the width of the panel. Just nice, lazy, wavy lines. And that's great because I can skip all that marking and just start quilting right now. I'm not going to make you watch me quilt. I will see you when this panel is ready to be connected to the next one. I think these organic, curvy, wavy lines turned out really, really well. I really like them. They were so fast to sew, very simple. I just kind of went wherever my machine took me. And it's very subtle on most of the fabric, but then when you get to the really dark colors, and they really pop out. But all in all, I think it is really great for this sort of jungle camo look I have going for my dad's quilt. So next step is to connect this panel to this one, and that is where I'm a little nervous because there are a couple things that I'm worried about. I am going to be attaching these 2 sections with, you guessed it, some more glue. This time I'm going to use my fine tip applicator, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue along the important intersections. So where I want things to match up perfectly, I'll leave this area alone and let nature take its course. But for the parts where I want to be accurate, glue. So I'm going to do just a little line there, little line there, little line down here, you can't see it. And I'm going to match as well as I can. And luckily I've pressed my seams so that I can feel when they match, mostly. Make sure those are firmly in place, and then I'll take my iron and do a quick heat set. If you're worried about getting glue on your iron, you can always just leave the glue to set naturally. There's a little more waiting time that way, but you don't have to worry about a messy iron. I'm going to do the rest of this off camera because it's hard to be precise and film at the same time. One thing that I am worried about is I'm worried that the panel that I've quilted will have distorted this edge here, making it hard to match up my points. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that and hope for the best, but so far so good. I finished all my glue basting down that connecting side, and now I'm going to cut off all of this excess batting and backing. Then I will add on my next section of backing and batting, and you'll see the next area that I'm a little concerned about. Okay, so this next bit is a little bit tricky. What I have on the bottom here is my backing and batting panel that's been glue basted. And then, with right sides together, I have my quilted panel and my unfinished quilt top panel. So that is basically 2 quilts worth of fabric right there, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam down that connecting side. So this is where I'm a little worried that my machine will not be able to handle this technique. I'm not sure how it's going to deal with all of that bulk. So first I'm going to glue baste, you guessed it, along this line, and then I'm going to sew that seam. And hopefully I don't kill my machine in the process. Okay, here I go. I have my needle position down, and I've bumped up my stitch length a little bit so that hopefully I can handle that bulk a little more. I'm not going to film while I do this because I do anticipate that I'm going to be wrestling this thing through the machine, but I will update you after I'm done. Okay, that was easier than I thought. Fantastic. There was a little extra weight, of course, but my machine handled the bulk like a pro. So I'm very pleased with that. But of course, none of that matters if this technique didn't work out. Okay, real quick recap before I open this up. What I have from top to bottom is the unfinished quilt top, the quilted panel, and the glue basted backing and batting. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is open up the batting section and see how that joined together. Bear with me. Okay. I didn't even try to match up the backing, but it didn't matter because it's such a busy pattern. You can barely see that. That is excellent. Okay, now I'm going to flip it over. So in the finished quilt, there are going to be 2 different sections where there's this extra bulk right here with the, 2 quilts worth of batting and backing and blah, 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 blah. I will make sure and let you know if it's noticeable at the end, and if it's unpleasant or if it's something I can get past easily and do this technique again in the future. But let's check now how it joined up. Okay. Looks good. I lost this point just a little bit, but overwhelmingly positive in this first section. Okay, I think it looks good. I'm going to iron this seam, smush it down a little bit, and then more glue basting. So I'll glue the loose top here to the batting and backing. And I think I'm also going to, trim some of this batting out of this seam right here where my binding is going to go, just so that I don't have extra bulk pulling the straight line of the binding, if that makes sense. I don't want that extra bulk there, I think. It might not matter at all, but I'm going to trim that out, press this seam open, and then glue baste the loose top down. And then I can do some more wonky wavy lines. Exciting stuff. Okay, I think this is gonna work. I am very optimistic now. I have already glue basted the top unfinished quilt, and I turned it over and I noticed this mistake. I don't know if you can tell on camera. I should have pressed this from the back. I pressed it from the front and it just isn't cutting it. So next panel, I'm going to press it from the back and then open it up, press it from the front. I'm going to try to do some damage control now, but I don't have high hopes for this particular seam. The very, very, very best part about this technique is that this is the absolute maximum amount of fabric that I have to have in my tiny little machine. So nice. I can't imagine trying to fit a whole quilt in there. So annoyingly small. So if you have a small machine, I think you can relate to that, and you might want to try this method out for yourself. So far so good. I'm getting impatient. Let's skip ahead. My absolute first thought is that a lot of people are going to be really annoyed with this wavy organic quilting pattern. It came out looking a little haphazard, I think it might be the nicest way to put it. But honestly, it was fast and it was fun to do, and my dad was never going to notice perfectly spaced, accurate, straight line quilting. Now, let's talk about the bulky seams real quick. They are definitely noticeable to the touch, but they are not noticeable to the eye. So, for instance, one of these seams is the bulky seam. Can you tell which one it is? I can't tell which one is the bulky one without looking to the edge of the quilt. So, I think as far as that goes, that's a big thumbs up. But there definitely is, oh, by the way, this is the bulky seam. There definitely is a ridge right there that you can feel. But you know what? I don't think that really matters that much to me. I think that's something that is very easy for me to get over, especially considering how easy this quilting method is. So that's great. Now here's the back. You can definitely see, just based on the pattern of the backing fabric, where my seams are. That doesn't personally bother me very much, and I don't foresee myself putting more effort into matching the backing fabric. But if that's something that matters to you, I'm sure there's a way to figure that out to match perfectly. I just don't personally know how to do that. But all in all, I am very pleased with this method. It was a lot of fun. It was really fast. And I never felt that moment of despair that I often feel when I am quilting on my tiny little machine. So the quilting is done, but I'm not ready to add my binding yet because my dad has made another request. It's a weird one. To me, I've never done this. He wants a foot pocket because this is going to be used just exclusively at his recliner. So if you've ever made a foot pocket for a blanket, and I really doubt it because I personally have never seen it or heard of it before, will you give me some tips or hints down in the comment section because I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have some ideas, but I don't think any of them are good. So let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye!